Hi, welcome to today's General d'Armée video. Unfortunately I'm having to re-record the introduction because my camera phone on my phone sometimes does this. I record in landscape format and it decides to, when I try and edit it, turn it into portrait, which always looks really awful. So we're doing this, I'm doing this introduction after we've done the first 4 turns, but don't worry, all the action you'll see in a second starts at the beginning of turn 1. So a bit of an unusual scenario today. We made this one up specifically for today's game. It requires the French and the British to capture 2 farmsteads, each held by the opposition at the start of the game, and also included hidden movement. So some of the battalions, and we still have some of them unrevealed at this stage of the game, but each side had a brigade where the battalions were concealed, and not all of the battalions were represented by the markers you see up there. So we included a bunch of dummy units, which increased the uncertainty at the beginning of the game, and both me and Charlie really enjoyed the dummy unit concept. So I'll just give a recap of the objectives. So at the start of the game, this village here was in French hands, and the British had to capture that, and they have to force their way onto this hill line occupied by the French. Conversely, the British hold this ridgeline, and indeed held this farm, and the French had to capture this farm, hold the other farm, and get onto the British ridgeline. So quite a fun scenario. The British have a brigade of guards, a brigade of regular line troops, a brigade of KGL, and a brigade of Hanoverians, and a light and heavy cavalry brigade. The French have 3 strong infantry brigades, and again a heavy cavalry and a light cavalry brigade. We hope you enjoy watching the video, and please let us know what you think. On we go with turn 1. Okay, we're kicking off with activating our brigades. Charlie's got 2 brigades on table, so he's rolling his 2 off-table brigades. He needs a 5 to activate them, so neither of them are active. And then for his, none of them get an ADC anyway, you might still activate them. And then rolling for your ADCs for your on-table brigades.
They all have ADCs.
So you've got 3 ADCs.
So
and then
all of them.
for the French have got 2 ADCs for their on-table brigades, and for their off-table brigade they don't get one. So French start with 2 ADCs. We'll now deploy our ADCs, and then we'll roll for activation. Okay, so the French have decided their plan. We're going to try and capture this village first. It looks like a decent strong point to hold against those guard battalions. We're going to gamble on it not being too heavily defended. Otherwise we're just going to go for normal activation of the rest of our units. So infantry assault requires 2 ADCs, so both my ADCs are on that unit. Hopefully I won't need a reroll because I haven't got one. So rolling for that first brigade. It's a 2. They're hesitant. Blow my 2 ADCs. Not a great investment. Then rolling for the second brigade. We got a 5. So I've got 1 active brigade and 1 hesitant brigade. Over to you, Charlie. What are you up to?
I have no ADCs on my infantry, but I'm going to re-roll for my
Your heavy cavalry is not available yet. Remember, your light cavalry or your KGL or Hanoverians are...
I'm going to put a re-roll on all my troops then.
Okie doke.
So my King's Guards battalion is active.
Yeah.
My
British brigade on the table.
My British line brigade is active, so everything's active for me.
Okay, so you've got +1 to the initiative. Let's roll for initiative, see who goes first. French get a magnificent 4.
And
British get 11 with a bonus of 1, makes them 12. So British will be moving first. We'll be back with the movement. Okay, in turn 1 for the French, the right-hand French brigade has advanced up in support of its units that are in the village. So we move across. The hesitant brigade hasn't done very much other than simply deploy its right-hand battalion into line to give it a bit of flank protection. Over if we look at the British lines, you can see the 2 guard brigades are advancing. So Charlie's moving forward quite quickly, moving through their own artillery battery. So masking them this turn. And then the 2nd British Brigade is starting to echelon to its left to secure its flank. That's all the action for turn 1. We'll see whether Charlie wants to fire any artillery, but all the French artillery is out of range or out of arc at the moment. Right, Charlie's just opening fire with his artillery battery on the hill at this French column emerging from the woods. So we get a bonus for firing at column at effective range. Let's see what they get.
So I get one more casualty and I get a 7.
And a bonus casualty. So we'll look at the effects chart. And effective range of 7 is 1 casualty. So that's 2 casualties on that column. We'll mark those up and again with turn 2. Okay, we're just now rolling for initiative on turn 2. So I've got 2 brigades on table, 3 brigades on table and 1 off. So my on-table brigades, don't move those, Charlie, I see them roll. I've got all of my ADCs active, and then for my off-table brigade, nothing.
I got 1
Charlie,
ADC.
you've got 1 active brigade for your on-table.
Not active, just ADC.
1 ADC, and then 2 more dice for your off-table brigades. Okay, so you've got 2 ADCs, the French have got 3. We'll just put those on our units, then roll for activation. Okay, we'll roll for activation. We'll start with the French. We've gone for infantry assault with a reroll, so that's used all 3 of my ADCs on this brigade here. And we've rolled a 3, so they're active, and infantry assault has gone off. We'll mark that up. Then my brigade in the centre is a 2, so that one is hesitant, and I'm at -1. All right, Charlie, you've got 2 ADCs. Where are you deploying those?
So I'm deploying them both on these infantry brigades.
Okay, so you've got a reroll on both. Let's start with the guards then.
Okay.
They're active. And then with the other brigade?
Jay?
Active.
Hang on a second, active as well. All right, we'll carry on. Okay, now rolling for initiative. French are again at -1. They roll a 7, so they're on 6.
And the
British are on 9. British have initiative. Charlie, you to go first in turn 2. Okay, so quite a lot of developments on the French left flank. Their attacking brigade has peeled off 2 battalions now to screen its right flank against the British Guards. And it's moved forward on infantry assault towards the village, potentially in assault range next turn, and it's thrown its skirmisher screen forward. In response to this, the skirmishers of the French have detected that there are Hanoverian troops occupying that building, and you can see them now deployed behind it, and we've got some Hanoverian skirmishers in the woodline, and they're supported by the Guards Brigade, which has now progressed down the hill. Here are the Guards, you can see them a bit better now, with those wonderful purple flags. And then you can see the second battalion behind. They've thrown their skirmishers forward against the French skirmisher screen, and the British artillery battery on the hill is now unmasked. So there are 2 batteries there. Are all your brigades active, Charlie? They are, aren't they? Yeah, so all those batteries can fire with a wide arc. They haven't got to fire straight ahead only. So that means Charlie's got quite a lot of viable artillery support to push back against this attack. As we move across, you can see Charlie's 2nd British Brigade is redeploying, forming a strong defensive left flank to this half of the table. They've formed up against both of the hedge lines with battalions moving up in support, and again their skirmishers screen out, and the French are still stymied. Their advancing brigade went hesitant, and Charlie's pretty close to being able to see whether the first of those concealed units is a real unit or not. I think those skirmishers move a little bit further, and then we'll be able to detect that. Alright, we'll move on with firing in turn 2. Okay, so we're just starting with firing. Charlie's skirmish screen in the village is going to open fire. 2 dice.
Do nothing.
Okay, Charlie's 2 skirmishers by the wheat field.
Do they
The
get,
guard skirmishers. They don't actually get a bonus, they're just the same as any other
do they
skirmishers.
get 1 dice for shooting out skirmishers?
Ah, you're right, they do. They should only actually get 1 dice. Well done.
Nothing. So now it's
Okay.
my proper one. My best thing. Show my artillery.
Yeah,
It might actually be closer range because you turned around and got a bit closer.
yeah. Do you want to measure?
Yeah. Where was that?
Give me a second. I've got a measuring tape.
Okay.
So we do it from there to the closest point. 18 inches, so it's effective range, but you can get bounced through onto that unit behind it.
So I'm going to shoot it. Please get a control to get some damage onto that.
So there's no bonus on the first one because it's in line,
Yeah.
not column.
6.
6 at effective range is 1 casualty. And then roll the bounce through, 4, 5 or 6?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, that's the first battery fired on the
And
hill.
also,
You've got the other battery on the hill over there to fire as well, Charlie.
wouldn't it not have to reveal someone because there's nothing in the way? Because it only would have revealed those guys.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can fire your guys, your Hanoverians in the village
Yeah, and
can
also,
fire out too.
wouldn't it only reveal those guys if it's shot, not those ones up there?
Oh yeah, it won't reveal those.
Oh.
Yeah, only a unit reveals itself if it itself shoots. So the artillery battery firing won't reveal them.
Oh, I thought you said if they shot it, it would reveal the troops up there.
No, that was... sorry, I shouldn't have implied that. That's not what I meant.
So I'm going to shoot into that same battalion.
Okay, another... Let's
I
see.
think it's at medium range.
Yeah, I don't think you get bounced through from that one, though. So I
Actually,
think
I might.
you need to aim at the middle of the unit,
Wait.
which means
Oh,
sort of
it
coming down that way.
Yeah. It could.
So I think it's just one shot from that battery on the hill.
7.
7, I think that's one casualty as well. That's probably at long range, we'll check that. At long range it's a half, and at effective range it's 1.
So should I roll see if it's a half?
Let's see if it's a half.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, it was anyway, okay. So that was another casualty. Have you marked it up on here?
No, I haven't marked.
So that's 2 more casualties on, isn't it?
Yeah.
1 from each battery. Okay, so they're now on
And now, also my
4
skirmishers.
casualties. That's correct, yeah. What are they going to
Can
fire
2
out?
of them shoot at that?
Yeah, 2 dice.
Okay. 1 casualty.
Okay, we'll mark that up. Any more firing from you, Charlie?
No.
Alright. Okay. We'll move on with French firing in response. Okay, we're at the start of turn 3, rolling for ADCs. French have 3 ADCs on the table. They've got 1 active, and then for their off-table 1, no, so only 1 ADC for the French this turn.
And the British have all of them?
British get all of theirs, and then for their off-table ADCs?
None.
None. Okay, so 3 ADCs for the British, 1 for the French. We'll put those down, and then we'll roll for activation. Okay, looking at some developments on the right flank. So Charlie, with his deployment roll, has brought on his KGL brigade. There we go. A brigade of lights. I think that's actually a Hanoverian light battalion proxying as KGL. And then the 2 KGL line infantry battalions moving forward with their skirmish screen. And as they've advanced, they've indeed identified that there is a French battalion occupying that village, and there are some French skirmishers out on the right flank. Otherwise in the centre, not much moved. French battalion was hesitant, its opposing British brigade was also hesitant. They moved just over that hedge line. Charlie and I had a discussion, we decided that was okay, even though there were French in the village. Charlie didn't know they were there, therefore we decided that even though it was hesitant and would technically move towards the enemy.
And they also were dummies too, so they weren't actually real.
And one of them was dummies as well, so Charlie's identified a couple of French dummy units at the same time. As we pan over to the left, Charlie's decided to keep his guard battalions in reserve. He's still holding the village. The French actually haven't moved, and they are on infantry assault, so I will finally, I've missed that, I'll move the French infantry brigade and then we'll get on with firing. Charlie has just informed me he's going to be particularly generous, and because I forgot to do the charge phase and went on to movement and we're now at the end of movement, I have missed the charge phase. So so I pleaded to his better nature to let me charge into the village, and he decided that that was just not on and I ought to know the rules by now. So my French battalions are stuck outside the village. Alright, we'll get on with firing in this third turn. Okay, kicking off with firing in the village. Hanoverian skirmishers against the French skirmishers, just 1 dice, Charlie.
Is it?
Yeah, because you've got a 2 base stand, which is usually 2 dice, and -1 for shooting at skirmishers.
Nothing.
Nothing.
What
And
should
then
the village?
the Hanoverians in the village, 3 bases, firing at skirmishers, so down to 2 dice.
Nothing.
Okay,
No.
and then the guard skirmishers firing at skirmish screen, 1 dice.
Nothing.
Okay, the artillery battery on the hill can have to target a different French battalion because it's... No, it's not hesitant,
No.
so that one can fire at anything. What's
So it's
your
actually that
target
one.
unit? You want to fire at the line again, do you?
Yeah.
Charlie does like picking on a unit and trying to destroy it, causing my brigade to break. He's a bit too good at these rules. That poor French line battalion is going to be the target of artillery fire. The only good thing is I don't really get any bounce through given the angles on that one.
But the other
Okay.
one will get bounced through.
But the other battery will get bounce through, you're right.
Oh, 8.
Okay, that's going to be... Do you want to just check on the chart, Charlie.
Okay,
That's at long range, I think.
I think
we'll check
no,
that.
it's just one certain casualty, I'm fairly sure.
Bottom right.
Firing. There's one casualty.
Okay, one casualty. I'll mark that up. So they're on 5 now, Charlie. Okay, and then your other battery, which line are you going to fire at? The one in the woods or the one out in the open?
The exact same one, quite obviously.
Okay.
Well, hopefully next time it'll be completely destroyed, so the whole thing will falter and fall back. So. 4.
Okay, that's
Okay,
going
it's just
to be nothing at effective
Yeah.
range. It's not a fatigue casualty.
Skirmishers all get to
Right.
fire.
Okay.
4 bases.
Yeah, that's 3 dice, I think, for 3 or 4 bases.
They get 1 casualty.
Okay, we'll mark that up.
And also the skirmishers of the King German Legion.
Yeah, firing into the buildings.
Yeah.
So that'll be 1 less dice, so it'll be 3 normally down to 2, I
Yeah.
think.
I think.
Nothing. Alright, any more firing, Charlie?
No.
Alright, we'll do some counter firing. We'll fire the French skirmishers at the KGL skirmish screen, just 2 dice. 1 casualty. Do you want to just put a dice now next to them and then we'll do the casualty mark
I could
in a
put
second?
I'll put the one there.
Okay, so the French battalion is going to have a go at firing at the skirmish screen. That's at -2. Double 1, that's
Fire discipline.
Fire discipline. We'll mark that up in a second. Right, down here then the French, three bases will fire at the 2 guard skirmish screens. 1 casualty on the guards, and then 3 bases will fire at the Hanoverians. No casualties on the Hanoverians, so just 1 casualty on the guards. Then French artillery. French artillery will try and do a bit of counter battery fire at long range against the British battery on the
Isn't that
opposing hill.
-2?
So it's -2 against deployed artillery. 5 minus 2 is 3. That'll be a fatigue casualty on myself. Don't do pointless long range artillery fire. I know that's the rule, but I need to try and whittle down Charlie's defensive artillery fire. So anyway, we'll mark that one up. Then I've got my artillery battery down here. That will have a go at effective range, firing at that battalion in line.
Wait, is effective range 20?
It's actually screened by its own skirmishers,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So I'll be generous to Charlie and say that one can't fire because it's screened. And then this battery up here can now fire.
But
It'll be
it's blocked
firing
by a
at
building,
long
though.
range, but it will have bounce through.
Blocked by building.
No, it's going to fire through that gap at your 2 battalions.
But
of
wouldn't it,
KGL.
also, wouldn't it? Oh no, that was. Yes, I thought it was real.
So at long range, 10.
Cogged.
That's quite good.
It's cogged from the dice.
Alright. 8. 8 at long range is 1 casualty.
But it goes 1 to
And then-
skirmish, and then.
No, not for round shot, that's only at close range.
Okay, so how many?
So 1 on the KGL at the front, and a bounce through casualty to the 1 KGL at the back. So the 2, not the light battalion, but the other 2 have both taken 1 casualty. Alright, we'll go and do those markers, and that's the end of turn 3. Right, so it's turn 4, and we've just rolled 4 ADCs. The French have got 4, and the British have got how many, Charlie?
2.
Okay, we'll go and deploy our ADCs, and then go for activation. Okay, let's get on with activation. Charlie, let's start with you. So you've got KGL Brigade?
Yep. I might get a reroll of this. They're active.
Alright.
My line battalion gets a reroll, and it's active.
Okay.
My
Guards Brigade?
Guards Brigade, yeah. Active.
And your Hanoverian Brigade?
Active. So
Alright,
everything-
all active for the British. Let's start with the French. The Brigade assaulting Hanoverians is active. The Brigade in the centre is hesitant. The Brigade occupying the village is active. And then the Reserve Cavalry Brigade, which has got a reroll, is active. So the French
Wait,
have
no,
got
don't you
their...
need a 4 higher to bring them into battle?
I think you just need an ADC activation, Charlie. I will just check that in the rules, but I think you just need an activation, and I allocated 3 ADCs, 2 for the roll and 2 for the activation and 1 for a reroll. Alright, now let's, assuming that was all fine, and I will just check, let's roll for initiative. So for the French,
-1.
double 1 minus 1 is 1.
I can't lose actually. Why did you?
What did you roll?
I even rolled
You
three.
even rolled a 3 and you still have the initiative.
I shouldn't have rolled because even if I got a double 1, I would have never lost
I
it.
know. Okay, so the British and their allies have the initiative on turn 4. Alright, we've just finished movement in turn 4. The 1st French battalion has charged into the village, so we'll see how that does. We've got some defensive fire to do from Charlie, which we will need to do. But they do just charge home without a charge test. The other battalion has moved forward on its flank for support, and the second half of the brigade is now forming line to protect its flank. In opposition to that, Charlie has carried on resolutely moving forward with his guard, and his other English brigade is now pretty much deployed in line, holding the remainder of that left flank through to the centre. As we look across to the village, we can see that Charlie's KGL has now moved into the village. One battalion, the lights, you might just be able to see there, have charged into the end of the building. And the French reinforcing units were revealed to have been, unfortunately for the French, dummies. So the French have just started moving up a reinforcing battalion, but that battalion in the village is a bit exposed at the moment. We'll just come around the table, and here you can see the KGL where the lights have charged in. Only one battalion can charge home because he's not on infantry assault orders. The other two are there providing moral support only. In the centre, the French, as you can see, have brought their light cavalry on. Only the very first regiment in 2 wings of their formation, and their infantry brigade, which was hesitant, has squeezed up a bit to allow the French cavalry some room to deploy in the centre and potentially force a gap between the 2 wings of the British Army. Anyway, there we are. That's the end of movement in turn 4. We'll now move on to firing. Okay, so we're starting with the firing on the left flank. Charlie starting with his skirmishers first. 2 dice.
That's cocked. Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. The villagers fired on the French infantry battalion that was charging in, didn't cause any casualties. Your 2 guard skirmishers shooting at my skirmish line, or they can shoot through into the...
Yeah, shoot through.
Shoot through, alright, so that's... I think this is the way that would work.
2 dice.
So 2 dice, because my skirmishers are too close to screen.
That just
Didn't do any casualties.
Now
Alright,
the
that's
volley.
funny. Alright, a volley from the guards battalion.
Superior
Alright.
volley?
So it's... so did you move this turn, though?
Yes.
Okay, so it's only an inferior volley because you moved. You're a large battalion, so pick up a blue dice for a combat dice.
I don't know why I'm using blue dice.
Okay, so take 2 reds and 1 blue.
Yep.
Alright. Don't think there are any other adjustments. Could you argue I'm in cover because I'm in the cornfield? I don't think so against a volley. Alright, so roll away, inferior volley though only.
Oh.
9 was
9, and I got an extra casualty.
that? Okay, so that's 3 casualties on the French battalion and a discipline test. We'll mark that up
So,
temporarily.
and also my 2 artillery pieces, but my moment of truth is my artillery in close range, one of my batteries, and my other one in medium, so let's check.
Alright,
So
we'll let
close
Charlie
range
check the ranges and be
is
back in a second.
12.
Right, Charlie's trying to falter my brigade. He's continuing to concentrate his fire on this French infantry battalion here.
The usual
So
British tactic.
the usual British tactic. So the guards followed and caused a discipline test this turn. We'll now just do the artillery. So we've got 1 at effective range. Let's see what we get. What do you get, Charlie?
5. That's half
A
effective.
5 at effective range is 1 casualty.
Oh.
And then you've got 1 battery at...
Medium range.
I think that's at effective range as well, isn't it, Charlie?
Yeah, it's half effective range, yeah. Reject. I got 9.
9 at effective range, and that's 2 casualties. So that's 3 more casualties in a discipline test.
6 casualties.
Yeah.
They're on 8, so
9, 10,
1,
11.
2, 3, 4. Only 4
No.
destroyed them.
No, it's not. It's only 3 you did.
How far is range?
Hang on a second, Charlie. We'll just do the discipline test first. So the first discipline test was when I was at 8 or 9 casualties, so that's at -2. So let's do the discipline test at -2. Ooh. That's 8, minus 2 is 6, so they're unformed on the first one, and the next discipline test is at minus 3. They're at 9, so they stay unformed.
That's quite bad. You won't be able to move them back, and they'll get destroyed.
So yeah, they're on the point of being destroyed. They've taken 11 casualties now, and
So isn't
we'll see
fully
what the
ranged
rest of Charlie's
9
dastardly
inches?
plan is. Sorry, Charlie?
Isn't fully range 9 inches?
It is 9 inches, yeah.
I think I'm probably not going to be in range.
No. I think that's it. I think they have hung on for one other turn.
Volley. They're going to shoot their skirmishers. And that's what... Oh! No.
I think that's our firing on this flank. Let's do the firing in the centre now, Charlie.
So, 2 dice for my troops. I think it's the North Gloucestershire.
Yeah.
They should be veterans now. They've killed so many battalions on their own. They've taken like 4 casualties in total. All of their battalions they've taken out.
So that's a standard volley, and you moved this turn, didn't you?
No,
All those battalions moved up? Or did that one not move?
That one didn't move. That's the only one that didn't move. All the rest moved.
So that's a volley that counts as veteran. So let's roll 2d6. 3, that won't be anything. So a superior volley, 3 is fire discipline lost by that unit.
So my skirmishers though.
Okay, your skirmishers, 3 dice against the raid.
1 casualty.
1 casualty. Alright, that takes them up to 3. Okay, moving across the line. Anything else to fire?
Yeah, these skirmishers, including 1 rifles.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll give you a +1 dice for that. So they would normally be 3 dice for 3 or 4 stands, +1 for a rifle is 4.
-1.
-1 for
skirmishers.
Big skirmishers, yeah, so 3 dice.
Nothing.
Okay.
Now, could this... No, that wouldn't work. I was going to say, could they volley through their skirmishers? But...
Well, they can, but their skirmishers would be rather unhappy about that. Alright, we'll have a pause there and then move on with the French firing. Okay, French firing. So starting with their skirmish screen, and we're going to fire 3, I think 4 of them can fire at the guards, so that would be 3 dice. Nothing with the first 2, nothing with the first 3, and then 2 can fire at your skirmish screen, which does no effect. Okay, nothing from the French skirmishers. In the centre, we're going to volley the British battalion behind the woods. You count as being in cover, so that's -1. So that's a 5, and that's a steady volley, because I moved, it's an inferior volley. And a 5 is fire discipline if recruits. They're not recruits, so not fire discipline for them.
Wait, do I not have fire discipline? Because I wasn't recruits.
No, because you got 3, I think.
But then... Oh, yeah.
That's it. And then 2 shots from my skirmishers over by the village against your skirmish screen. 1 casualty on your skirmish screen, Charlie.
Why are you doing so well with your skirmish screen?
Alright, and now we get into hand-to-hand combat.
Wait, is it turn 4?
It's turn 4,
Okay.
yeah, hand-to-hand combat in turn 4. 2 combats in the villages to fight.
So-
We'll get ready for that and back in a second. Okay, we'll fight the combat in this village first. Both of us have got 5 dice. Charlie gets a bonus for being veteran, I get a bonus for defending the built-up area. So we both stay on 5. Let's see how we do. 4s for casualties. Pretty good for the French there, that's 3 casualties.
That's 2, but we fight again.
Melee results. Casualty difference 1, infantry in built-up area. First round, we fight on. So I take 3 casualties.
And I take
2 casualties.
2, yeah.
Sorry, you take 3 casualties, I take 2.
But luckily I don't get a minus, I'm so
what
close.
are you on now?
I'm on 3 now, I'm so...
You haven't taken any from shooting, had you? No, okay. So, alright, so in the next round, you get 6 dice, Charlie, because you're veterans, and I still only get 5, because I don't get the built-up area bonus in the second round. Ah, not so good for the French this time. Only 1 casualty.
And good for the British, they get 2.
2, okay. So you won by 1, so the loser retreats. I am thrown out of the village, and I will have taken 3 casualties. You will now be...
You've taken 4, because I took 2 more.
Yeah, I'm on 4 casualties, and you're also on 4 now, Charlie, yeah? But you occupy the village and are unformed. Simply because first turn in the village unforms you. Okay, so the KGL have captured the village on the right-hand flank. Let's see if the French can do a bit better this time. French get 5 dice on their first line of assault. They lose 1 for attacking a built-up area, but they are line and they're fighting reservists, so they gain 1 dice for being a higher morale grade. So I get to roll 5, and Charlie gets to roll 5 too. French cause
2.
2 casualties. Now for the Hanoverians.
I just need 4. Please,
1. Okay. So we then go into fight a second round of combat. I get 5 dice.
And you get 6 now.
Well, I get 5, you get 4.
No.
I think. Oh yes,
You get 6.
I get 6, you get 5. That's right. I'll mark the 1 casualty on me, and you've got 2 on yours, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay, let's roll again. Second round. Oh my god, that's a bit better.
4.
4 casualties for the French,
1,
and 2 for the Hanoverians. So that leaves us by 2, and the French are into that village. We'll do the movements and mark up the casualties. Okay, we'll do a quick recap. We're a third of the way through the game, end of turn 4, and on the French left flank, things are going reasonably well. They've captured the village, and in a position to reinforce it with these 2 other fresh infantry battalions, and the battalion holding the village itself has only taken 4 casualties. So that doesn't look too bad from the French. We've uncovered where 2 of the Hanoverian battalions are and driven 1 of those off, and the second one outside the village is unformed as its colleagues burst through it. And we still have 2 dummy units here. One of those is certainly the remaining Hanoverian battalion. So we know we've got a flank threat, so lucky I kept that battalion there in case something comes storming out of those woods to get me in the flank. So we move across, we will be subject to artillery fire, close range from that battery on the hill. That'll be a bit painful. And we've got the 2 guards battalions which I expect to start counter-attacking now, both of those in a very robust health. On my right flank, this is looking a little bit more dodgy, and I might have to swing some of my cavalry across to try and check the possible British counter-attack here to the right of the village. So this French battalion is now on 11 casualties. It's on the point of collapse. Its colleague to its right, hidden away in the woods there, still pretty fresh, and it is supported in the rear by a further battalion. So not too bad, but I will have to take a Falter test as that battalion undoubtedly will succumb to enemy fire this turn. As we move across to the centre, the British have got a very strong defensive position there across the line of the ridge. All of those battalions are lying, but now they're stationary and formed up and will be firing as veterans. So that will cause a lot of pressure to be put on the British. So I need to do something about my centre, as it's a bit weak. 1 battalion about to go, and 2 other battalions, French there, and then a big gap till I get across to my strong brigade opposite the village here. So I have something to counter-attack with, and the KGL who have taken the village are obviously strong now they're in it, but they are only 3 battalions strong over here. So I can use part of this brigade to pin the end of that British line, and indeed use my cavalry, which is just coming on the board here, to hopefully force that British line there into squares, and possibly wheel off to the left, try and put some pressure on the flanks of the Guards battalion. I think that would be my plan anyway for the next turn, and let my strong brigade here and the weaker one, which has only got 3 battalions in it, the last one which is yet to be revealed, to try and retake the village with their artillery support. So, looking good for the next part of the game. I'll probably upload this video now. Let me know what you think. Me and Charlie will move on with turn 5 in the next video. Cheers.